Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Ascending the throne and becoming the king. Eagle sauce, come and have a fight. Zhang Hao traveled through time and found out that his cheap father was actually the king of a country. He had just crossed over and was about to ascend to the throne. This is also too exciting. What is the experience of transforming from an ordinary person to a king of a country? And he also awakened the system. He could easily turn his small country into an incredibly powerful superpower through the system. It's simply amazing. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The Youngest King in History. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Parallel Universe. This is a world that is very similar to Blue Stars, but there are also some differences. A private estate on an island in the Pacific Ocean. In the luxurious villa, several men in suits and leather shoes were standing in front of a hospital bed, with extremely serious expressions on their faces. These people are generally older, with the youngest being at least in their 50s. They all have a calm and confident aura. Clearly all of them are big shots who dominate the party. On the hospital bed, there lay an old man with pipes all over his body, looking like a weak chicken about to swallow. However, in front of this extremely weak old man, the attitude of the suit masters was extremely respectful, and some even dared not take a breath of air. Has he come back yet? The old man spoke trembling. A big shot quickly stepped forward and said, "Your Majesty, someone has been sent to pick it up. It is expected to return to China tomorrow." The old man exclaimed, and then looked sternly at the other big shot. "How is it on your end?" The latter cautiously approached and replied, "Your Majesty, under your guidance, the revised plan has been successfully passed. His age is no longer a problem, and he can take over your throne with integrity and ease." "Okay, then I can rest assured." The old man nodded wearily, slowly closed his eyes and stopped speaking, seeming to be asleep. The big shots looked at each other face to face for a while, then secretly smiled and worried about the future. Although that, he is the only heir, his age is really too young. He is only 18 years old this year. More importantly, he has always been timid and not the material to do big things. Can an inexperienced and weak young man really shoulder such a heavy responsibility? Just as everyone was looking worried, suddenly. Beep. A long warning sound sounded from the instruments next to the hospital bed. Immediately after, the convoluted electrocardiogram was pulled into a shocking smooth straight line. The big shots were momentarily taken aback, and then they all began to feel sad. "Your Majesty the King." Someone shouted at the old man, his voice full of sorrow. Bailiang is an island country in the Pacific Ocean, with a small area, a small population, and a third-rate strength. Its international presence has always been low. But in recent days, due to the occurrence of two major events, the focus of attention from countries around the world has gathered here. The first thing is that the wicked dictator, the old king of Bailiang, finally died of illness. The second thing is that the 18-year-old son of the old king quickly succeeded to the throne, becoming the youngest king in history. On this day, the Bailiang Parliament building. On the second-floor resting area, a young man dressed in a straight formal attire and dressed in a neat and spirited manner happened to look around curiously. "Didn't I travel through time?" Zhang Hao scratched his head, his eyes filled with confusion. Just a few minutes ago, he realized that his soul seemed to have penetrated into another world. And the owner of this body has the same name as himself, and is actually a king who is about to become the new leader of the country. Zhang Hao shook his head, regained his thoughts, and stood up to look at himself in the opposite mirror. What appeared in the mirror was a handsome young man with a tall figure. At this moment, there was a knocking sound outside. Afterwards, a crisp and pleasant female voice came into my ears. "Your Majesty, may I come in?" Zhang Hao turned around and said. Accompanied by the sound of footsteps from high heels, a refined, mature, and beautiful female secretary caught the eye. The female secretary glanced at Zhang Hao with concern and asked softly, "Your Majesty, the oath-taking ceremony is about to begin in 3 minutes. Are you ready?" "Not bad, no problem." Zhang Hao nodded and stepped out of the door. "Let's go to the conference hall." Good." The female secretary quickly followed, but her expression was somewhat stunned. Wasn't the king nervous and unable to speak before? It was resolved so quickly. And for some reason, I always feel like the king has changed his personality, completely different from his previous timid appearance. After a moment, the oath-taking ceremony officially began. Under the guidance of his secretary, Zhang Hao walked steadily onto the podium. Feeling the gaze of countless pairs of eyes from across, he felt no tension in his heart, only excitement. According to the memory of the original owner of the body, the political system of the Northern Liang state was called the King's Republic, but in reality it was a dictatorship, with no difference between the king and the emperor. From now on, I will be the supreme ruler of this country. Opposite. Looking at Zhang Hao on the stage, the officials of the Northern Liang dynasty secretly squeezed their sweat. The only child of the old king has the ability, but unfortunately his personality is too soft and his mental quality is poor. He even stutters when he is nervous. This oath-taking ceremony is a live broadcast on national television, not only watched by millions of people from different countries, but also closely monitored by other foreign forces. If something goes wrong, the face of the Northern Liang kingdom will be ruined. In the hall, the invited foreign guests were sitting dignified. Some of them showed expressions of enjoying the show on their faces and started whispering while the venue was still quiet. According to rumors, the new king of Bailiang was so nervous yesterday that he almost fainted. This young man is not good, he can actually become the king of a country. Ha! After all, it's a dark dictatorship country. What's so strange about that? It's good news for us that Bailiang has replaced such a soft egg as the king. In no time, under the arrangement of the staff, the hall began to become quiet and elegant. The foreign guests decisively stopped discussing and put on solemn and composed expressions. However, they still held a disdainful attitude towards the new king on stage. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Zhang Hao's System. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The whole room was silent, and everyone's attention was focused on the young man on stage. Meanwhile, in front of the major screens of the Northern Liang Kingdom, millions of pairs of eyes were also carefully staring at their new king. After a brief opening speech, the conference went straight to the main topic. Now, let me ask the king to take the oath of office, said the deputy king, who was in charge of the ceremony, solemnly. Wow! In an instant, the crowd in the hall cheered with thunderous applause. Foreign guests also clapped their hands, but their seemingly serious expressions carried a hint of indifference to some extent. And those national representatives who harbored hostility towards Northern Liang were even more mocking and contemptuous in their eyes, with a faint cold snort emanating from their noses. On stage, Zhang Hao took a deep breath. He is well aware that this announcement ceremony is very important, not only as a passing ceremony, but also to showcase his determination and attitude to the whole country and even the world. I, Zhang Hao, the new king of Northern Liang, hereby declare. He raised his right palm high. The national flag is above, and the king vows to uphold the supreme dignity of the Northern Liang flag to the death. The people are at the top, and the king vows to guarantee the sacred rights and interests of the people of Northern Liang to the death. National power is paramount, and the king vows to defend the sovereignty and integrity of Northern Liang's territory to the death. Starting from today, I, Zhang Hao, will lead the people of the whole country to rise strongly, and will definitely make Bailiang a top power in the world. A firm and powerful voice was transmitted through the microphone, echoing in every corner of the hall. As the words fell, everyone present was stunned. The secretary stared blankly at the speech manuscript in her hand. The first few sentences of the king are not a problem, but the last sentence is completely inconsistent with the set script. The officials of Baoyang also looked stunned. Is this strong and confident young man in his eyes really the timid new king of our family? The foreign guests were also stunned, but then showed either indifferent or sneering eyes. The world's top superpower. Bully doesn't boast like that. This confidence is indeed surprising, but it's a bit overconfidence. I guess, in order to avoid the king's embarrassment due to nervousness, the people of Baoyang must have given the king hypnosis treatment, but the therapeutic effect was clearly overflowing. Absolutely ridiculous. It would be great if Baoyang could maintain its original national strength, but they still fantasize about becoming a top powerful country. The old king is a war dealer, while the new king is a delusional lunatic. This country is indeed hopeless. The guests maintained a serious and paralyzed face on the surface, but in their hearts, they were all laughing coldly. Subsequently, they turned their gaze one after another to the representative of Claw Frog country. Claw Frog and Baoyang face each other across the sea, and there are many disputes over island sovereignty between the two. These two countries are still enemies of each other, with a total of 3 major wars erupting in the past 20 years, until the war ceased 2 years ago. Now that the Northern Liang dynasty is in doubt, taking advantage of such a good opportunity, the Claw Frog Kingdom will definitely make a big move. At this moment, applause rang out again in the venue. The officials of the Northern Liang dynasty were all applauding desperately, their expressions quite uplifted. Although this bully is indeed exaggerated, as long as the king can show his confident demeanor in front of the world, there is still hope for the country. The representatives of Claw Frog country are also applauding vigorously. This person is chubby, with a loyal and elderly image, and a gentle smile on his face, as if he is really cheering and blessing Zhang Hao. However, he had a completely different attitude in his heart. Top powers. A good oath. Unfortunately, in no time, you and your oath will become the biggest joke of this century. At night, at the official residence of the king's mansion, Zhang Haozhen collapsed on the comfortable and soft bed, staring at the ceiling in a daze. Becoming the king of a dictatorship is satisfying, but there are also many troubles to deal with. Besides, this country's national strength is weak, and there are many strong enemies around it. Nima is simply a mess. Zhang Hao frowned and shook his head, preparing to turn off the lights and fall asleep. Suddenly, a strange black hole has appeared on the ceiling. What is this? Zhang Hao couldn't help but be taken aback. Immediately after, a white figure appeared at the entrance of the cave and fell down towards his head with a thud. I'll strangle it. Zhang Hao quickly got up, but couldn't escape at all. He only caught a glimpse of white in his eyes, and then his entire gaze turned black. Next second. Ha! Didn't it hit? Zhang Hao found no pain on his body and felt a smooth and comfortable sensation on both sides of his cheeks. That's right, the air seems a bit stuffy. Suddenly, the sight regained its brightness, and the air also became fresh. What is the situation? Zhang Hao stood up in confusion and immediately saw a figure behind him. The owner of the figure walked out of bed and quickly turned around. A white-haired loli came into view. This luoli is so cute that she is pink-carved and jade-carved, but unfortunately her eyes are dim and lifeless, as if she has lost her soul. She wore leather boots and a tight and neat military green jumpsuit, with a clothing style similar to those of the female soldiers in the Gundam series. Zhang Hao understood. The white spot he saw earlier turned out to be successfully locked the host during system binding generation. Loli suddenly spoke to herself, her voice clear and pleasant, but without any human touch. Zhang Hao blinked and reached out his hand to shake in front of the other person. Suddenly, Loli's feet snapped together and saluted Zhang Hao, saying, "The god of war system, see the host." "Who are you?" Zhang Hao exclaimed in surprise. Loli repeated, "The god of war system." System. Zhang Hao is really confused this time. After reading so many novels in my past life, the system has long been commonplace. However, this is really the first time I have seen a system that has been materialized and even feminized. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Initial rewards, exchange for warships. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This system is very special. Zhang Hao looked up and down at Luo Li and rubbed her chin, murmuring to himself, "No, shouldn't the system be a consciousness in his mind?" As soon as he finished speaking, a prompt sounded in his mind. Ding. May I ask if the host is bound to the god of war system? This voice is completely consistent with the voice of the white-haired Loli. Zhang Hao couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "What happened just now?" Loli explained expressionlessly, "Because our system has a symbiotic relationship with the host, we can communicate with each other through brainwave induction." "I see, it's really a physical system." Zhang Hao's eyes seemed to have discovered the new world. He continued, "Then introduce yourself." Loli said word for word in a stiff tone, "The existence of this system is a physical humanoid construct, but without the installation of emotional programs, it will faithfully execute the host's commands 100%. In addition to providing the most basic system operations, this system can also perform various services such as escort and assassination for the host. After binding, the host can earn points through war and exchange them for rewards in the mall." Zhang Hao digested the information and then said, "Then let's start binding." "How do we bind it?" Loli replied, "The host needs to provide exocrine or bodily fluid samples and inject them into the system's architecture." "You mean saliva, sweat, blood, tears, etc. I chow, although the other party is just a construct wearing human skin, it's really exciting to say the word JY from a cute Loli's mouth." Zhang Hao took a breath and pointed to his forehead, saying, "Then let's sweat. After all, this guy in front of me is not even human, and using JY, it always feels strange. Obey me." Loli leaned over and slapped Zhang Hao's head. This collection method also seems to be good. At this moment, a prompt in Zhang Hao's mind echoed in line with Loli's voice. Ding. The god of war system has been successfully bound. Ding. Give away 2,000 initial points. Ding. The mall has been opened. The host can redeem points at any time. Okay, there's no such thing as a beginner gift package, but the initial reward of 2,000 points is also quite good. Zhang Hao scratched his head again. I can only hear prompts in my mind, but I cannot see the virtual panel. So he asked Loli, "How should I operate the system?" Loli pointed to her heart and said, "There is a switch here. Once the host is turned on, it can be operated." Zhang Hao said speechlessly, "No, with your advanced technology, how could you still install a low-pressure touch switch?" Loli looked paralyzed and said, "If you want to change the operation method, the host can spend 1,000 points to exchange for implanted chips, and then the host can directly operate in their mind." Zhang Hao thought for a moment and said, "No need, let's do this for now." He extended his finger and activated the switch according to Loli's instructions. The touch feels soft and comfortable. Ding. The control panel is open. With a hint in her mind, in an instant, virtual panels were thrown out from the white-haired Loli, looking dazzling. Zhang Hao calmed down and then, without any guidance, slid his fingers in the void to bring the shopping mall panel to his eyes. As a maritime country, Bailiang must prioritize coastal defense, so use the initial reward to buy a warship first. He opened the panel of the warship class and segments of data instantly appeared. After careful screening, he chose a destroyer with decent performance. Wolf-class destroyer captain. 155.5 meters ship width. 17.2 meters drainage capacity. Standard 5,600 tons, fully loaded 6,800 tons power system. 2 GAT.25,000 gas turbine, TB92 diesel engine speed. 29 knots range. 4,500 nautical miles/15 knots radar system. 1 L346 3D multifunctional phased array system, 1571B long-range air surveillance radar, 1364 SR.64X air/sea search radar sonar. SJD bow active/passive sonar system main weapons. 1 PJ.87 single barrel 100mm 55 caliber naval gun, 8 HHQ.9 vertical launch system, 2 quadruple YJ.62 anti-ship missile launchers anti-submarine weapon. 2 triple-mounted 324mm 74-24 torpedo launchers close-range defense weapon. 2730 Type 30mm close-range weapon system redemption points. 20,000 points per unit, grass. So expensive. Zhang Hao couldn't help but be amazed when he saw the last column, but immediately noticed a sign. Wait, what is this green, 0.9%? By Hailuoli replied, the first item can enjoy a 10% discount. In addition, the mall will also periodically launch activities such as Crazy Wednesday, Cycle Special, Summer Special, Winter Special, etc. During the event, redeeming specific items can enjoy discounts. It sounds a bit familiar to me, Zhang Hao asked again. How can I cash out the purchased items? Returning to the host, the weapons redeemed are all dropped out of thin air and do not come with a driver as a bonus. They are operated unmanned by intelligent AI. Well, it's quite convenient. But I need to make up an excuse to explain their appearance. People in this world are not fools. Zhang Hao slid down the panel and clicked on the Buy Now option. Ding. Successfully purchased, spent 2,000 points. Ding. The warship is in position and waiting for the host to deploy at any time. Zhang Hao thought for a moment and decided to wait until the war began in the future before deploying the warship to a suitable location. He then folded up the system panel and looked at the phone by the bedside. The cheats are in place, and the newbie rewards have also been exchanged. According to common sense, the next step should be ding-ling-ling. Sure enough, the phone rang. Zhang Hao picked up the phone and heard the anxious voice of his secretary inside. Your Majesty, this is an emergency. The Claw Frog fleet has appeared in our northern territorial waters. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Enemy countries provocation and naval invasion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Claw Frog Country. Are you ready to tear your face so quickly? Be more specific. Zhang Hao frowned. The representative of the Claw Frog Kingdom had just flown away when their warships invaded the territorial waters of Bailiang. This undoubtedly indicates that those guys are already ready to start fighting. The secretary replied, the other side dispatched 2 warships in total. They disregarded our country's repeated warnings and entered the Third Sea area, sinking 2 of our country's normal fishing boats. What's so special about a fishing boat? How come every time an enemy invades their territorial waters, they always have to find some fishing boats to bombard them first? Zhang Hao said to his secretary in a calm voice, order the northern fleet to attack. Immediately sink the Claw Frog fleet. The secretary suddenly, and said hesitantly, but King, Claw Frog has not yet made a formal declaration of war. Unlike the relatively peaceful Blue Star, this world is still in an era of crisis, and it is common for countries to fight against each other. However, there is one law that is the same between the two worlds. Regardless of the reason, the party that declares war first often bears more international pressure. The national strength of Bailiang is not as strong as that of Claw Frog. If it actively declares war, it is equivalent to giving away the moral high ground, and the situation will become very unfavorable. Do as I say, execute immediately. Zhang Hao's voice had an unquestionable tone. Others are knocking on their doors, and if they continue to shrink back, not only will the country suffer humiliation, but the people will also lose confidence in the government, so they must fight. Besides, I have a system in my hands, so I'm just empty fart. 2 or 3 seconds later, the secretary on the other end of the phone said solemnly, "Yes, King, execute immediately. You arrange a helicopter, I need to go to the Northern Fleet Command immediately." Zhang Hao's gaze was cold, and I also informed the fleet commander that before I arrive at the base, all invading enemy ships must sink, otherwise he knows the consequences. The secretary was about to reply when he heard a beep coming from the receiver. She put down the phone in a daze and then took a deep breath of air. Today's Zhang Hao and his past impression of Zhang Hao are really two completely different people. On the other end, Zhang Hao put on a suit jacket while manipulating the panel that was dropped from the white-haired lowly. Quickly, the data of the Northern Liang Kingdom and the Claw Frog Kingdom were retrieved. Northern Liang Republic Information Political System. King's Republic Current Leader. Zhang Hao Official Language. Chinese Continent. Asia Population. 43.13 million Land Area. 187,000 square kilometers. Capital. Qingjing Climate. Tropical Rainforest Climate. Economic Strength. B. Cultural Strength. C. Scientific Research Strength. B. Military Strength. D. Comprehensive National Strength. C. Information on the Claw Frog Republic, Political System. King's Republic Continent. Asia Population. 230 million Land Area. 1.89 million square kilometers. Climate. Tropical Rainforest Climate. Economic Strength. B+ Cultural Strength. C+ Scientific Research Strength. B. Military Strength. B. Comprehensive National Strength. B. By comparison, it can be found that Bailiang is not particularly disadvantaged in other fields, but its military level is much inferior to the other party. In terms of strategic depth, war potential, and active military strength, our side is absolutely at a disadvantage. Grass. The difference is indeed not small, Zhang Hao frowned. Facing the Claw Frog Kingdom, which is the hegemon of the Southern Ocean, the chances of winning for Northern Liang can be said to be very slim. However, as a man with the word day and sky in his name, no matter what kind of strong enemy he faces, Zhang Hao's life creed has always been one word: damn it. North, Sea Area 3. At this moment, the two captains of Claw Frog Country are on the phone. The captain of the Fatashi said, "We will arrive at the port of Bailiang in 50 nautical miles. When the time comes, we must follow the instructions of the command center and pay attention to the timing. Sinking fishing boats can be reduced to trivial matters through various excuses, but bombing other important areas is equivalent to fighting undeclared." Although the Claw Frog Kingdom had ambitions for the Northern Liang dynasty and had made strict preparations for war, it was not yet time to officially declare war. Understood, just suppress the momentum of Bailiang. The captain of the siege replied, "But what if Bailiang attacks us?" "They dare not." The captain of the Fatashi couldn't help but sneer contemptuously, "Bailiang is eager to avoid war. How could a weak country take the initiative to go to war with a strong country?" "Ha, too." The captain of the SIG nodded in agreement, suddenly realizing that during the current mission period, it should not be too relaxed, so he quickly put on a serious face. However, the task this time was really too simple, and it was also very enjoyable. The guys from Bailiang were extremely angry, but with a helpless expression, they felt relieved to think about it. Just then, the radar suddenly sounded a rapid alarm. Report to the captain. A large number of missiles are coming from the direction of Bailiang. The operator of the Situation Center urgently reported. What? Both captains were startled and quickly looked at the radar screen, and then a cold sweat oozed from their foreheads. Red dots. Many red dots. Grass. How many missiles did the Northern Liang Kingdom fire? Anti-missile system ready. Interception system activated, shouted the captain of the USS Sig loudly. Captain Fatashi gritted his teeth in anger and said, "Damn it. Don't Bailiang know what it means to directly attack a warship? I never expected that Bailiang would actually take the initiative to attack him." Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Missile Bombardment, Sinking Enemy Ships. You are listening at novelfull.audio. First Level Combat Deployment. First Level Combat Deployment. Accompanied by the piercing buzzing sound of the alarm, the naval officers and soldiers of the Claw Frog on the USS Siege immediately took action. Although there is a considerable gap between these soldiers and their strong counterparts, they still demonstrate quite good combat skills. In just 2 or 3 seconds, everyone entered their own combat positions. The captain strode from the bridge to the center of the battle and ordered a technician, "Open the guard gun." Yes. Guard activated, interception system activated. The latter extended his hands and began to operate with a crackling sound. At the next moment, a long-caliber machine gun on the side of the ship spun rapidly, aiming its muzzle proudly at the sky. At the same time, the radar screen suddenly refreshed. Yellow boxes appeared one after another on top, enclosing all the red dots. "Fire!" the captain shouted sternly. Da-da-da-da. The machine gun suddenly erupted into a frenzy, spewing flames into the air at a terrifying rate of 3,000 rounds per minute. With the help of radar and fire control programs, it can easily intercept targets 1 kilometer away and is particularly adept at dealing with drones or small missiles. However, despite the help of such sharp tools, the officers and soldiers of Claw Frog Country are not optimistic at all. There are so many missiles on the opposite side. Although the red dot has dimmed by half, there are still more than a dozen targets that have forcefully entered the innermost range on the radar screen. At such a close distance, even if there were too many security guns installed on the warship, it would be of no use. Shio! Heartbreaking roars echoed in my ears. All the Claw Frog officers and soldiers turned pale in an instant. The captain turned his head in a daze and looked out the porthole. In the deep blue night sky, there were dazzling lights shining brightly. The outline of the bright light is expanding at an astonishing speed, until it fills one's entire field of vision. The next moment. Boom! The bridge shattered, and the computers in the battle center became shattered. The bodies of the soldiers, along with broken glass pieces and mechanical parts, were swept up into the sky by the flames. The entire siege was instantly engulfed by a terrifying sea of fire. On another warship, the captain of the Fatashi heard the explosion sound from a friendly ship, and was both shocked and angry. But he didn't have time to worry about anything else, because his warship was also dealing with a dozen or so incoming missiles. Boom! Another loud bang. Under the continuous bombardment of missiles, the Fatahi fell into the abyss with a mournful cry. In the distance, the naval base of the Northern Liang dynasty. Winning! Winning! Exciting cheers echoed inside the command post. The soldiers of Bailiang clapped their hands in celebration, their faces full of excitement. I thought the senior management would choose to temporarily hold back and even adopt a tolerant attitude to resolve the situation for the sake of the overall situation. But to my surprise, the little king was not at all cowardly and immediately issued the order to open fire. Many soldiers have made up their minds that no matter what kind of big trouble Bailiang will face in the future, they are willing to shoulder it together with the king. Compared to the imposing grassroots soldiers, senior officers have a different attitude. The commander of the Northern Fleet appeared calm and composed on the surface, but inwardly he secretly complained. Having blood is certainly a good thing for the little king. Sinking down the intruder not only enhances military power, but also greatly enhances the trust of the people in the government. But in this way, our own side completely loses the possibility of avoiding war. To compete with the claw frog with the current strength of Bailiang is like striking a stone with an egg. At this moment, only a string of footsteps could be heard from behind. The commander turned around and found that the newcomers were a group of government officials in suits and leather shoes. The leader has a tall and handsome figure, and it is Zhang Hao. King. The commander immediately gathered his heels and solemnly saluted the national leader. The other officers and soldiers in the command room also stood up and saluted in unison, King. Zhang Hao nodded and then walked towards the command post without saying a word. The commander quickly followed and reported, King, the invaders have been hit by our shore-based missiles, and both warships have sunk. Well done. Zhang Hao nodded slightly, his expression appearing very calm. In fact, as early as the moment the Claw Frog warship sank, Zhang Hao learned the news from the system and knew that he had earned 2,000 points from it. On the other side, the secretary turned around and made a stop gesture with her arm extended. The commander understood and knew that the king was preparing to give a speech, so he took a few steps back with his entourage. Ha! He suddenly noticed the figure of a white-haired lowly in the king's bodyguard team, and his face showed surprise, casting an inquiring gaze at his secretary. The secretary returned to the queue and walked over to the commander, explaining in a low voice, that's the personal guard hired by the king himself, although she doesn't have a formal employment document yet. The commander widened his eyes and said, Guard. Little girl. She's very strong, the secretary said with lingering fear. When the bodyguards tried to blow her away from the king's side, they all got beaten up. Ah! The commander turned his head in surprise and noticed that the faces of the sunglasses bodyguards with big arms and round waists seemed to be indeed bruised and purple. I'm Chow. Which little girl from that family is so fierce? At this moment, the resolute and powerful words of the little king came to my ears. Everyone. Zhang Hao looked solemnly at the officers and soldiers in front of him. War is about to break out. I am very clear that Claw Frog is strong and Northern Liang is weak, but we have no way back. For the future of Northern Liang, we can only fight to the end with blood. Fight to the end. Fight to the end. The officers and soldiers responded loudly, and the neat slogans immediately echoed throughout the entire base. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. The Outbreak of Total War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The capital of Claw Frog Kingdom, the King's office. What? Our fleet was sunk. The Claw Frog King stood up from the office chair, his face indescribably gloomy, and his eyes still flickering with flames of anger. But all of this is just superficial. In fact, he was very excited inside. Zhengqiu couldn't find a suitable excuse to declare war on Bailiang. Although losing 2 warships is really painful, in this way, the country of Java does not need to bear the stigma and will bear less international pressure. The fishing vessel environment is not a big deal for first-class countries, but it is quite important for second- and third-rate countries. Sometimes, the pressure on fishing vessels can even affect the outcome of a war. So overall, this loss is worth it. Ha! 18-year-old king. The Claw Frog King sneered inwardly, then stiffened his face and issued a series of orders to the officials around him. Notify the Ministry of National Defense. Order frontline soldiers to prepare for war. Announcement to the propaganda department. Immediately mobilize major domestic official and commercial media to launch an attack on fishing vessels. Notify the Ministry of Foreign Education. Hand over the visual evidence transmitted before the sinking of 2 warships to the United Nations and other major powers. Yes. King. The officials of the Claw Frog Kingdom Mansion solemnly agreed and then took action one after another. Like the king, everyone appeared angry on the surface, but their hearts were filled with excitement. After defeating Bailiang, the Claw Frog Kingdom will gain massive benefits, and these high-ranking officials can also benefit from it. As for who wins or loses in the war, this is not a concern for everyone at all. Bailiang was originally inferior to Claw Frog, and now it is at the weakest point of national strength. If the opponent can win, there will be ghosts. The next morning, a spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Education of Claw Frog released a major statement to the world. Yesterday, during normal military exercises, the Claw Frog Navy was subjected to a shameless and unreasonable surprise attack by Bailiang, resulting in the sinking of 2 warships, the Siege and the Fatashi, and all officers and soldiers on board were killed. Our country expresses deep condolences to the deceased officers and soldiers, expresses anger at the barbaric atrocities committed by Bailiang, and regards this attack as Bailiang's declaration of war against our country. By unanimous decision of the National Assembly, our country has decided to launch a counterattack war against Bailiang. Justice will prevail. As soon as the news came out, the whole world was not shocked. It's not a day or two for Claw Frog to think about Bailiang. 2 countries will eventually have a war. And on this planet, it's not surprising that third world countries fight each other. However, to the surprise of countries around the world, this time it was the weak Bailiang that took the lead in laying bricks. Within less than half an hour after the announcement of Claw Frog country was made, various comments flooded major social networks. Zulongguo netizen. The Claw Frog Kingdom is very thief. They deliberately chose to cause trouble in the disputed waters, so no matter what actions North Liang takes, it is difficult to become the rational side. Su Rigua netizen. So what are the leaders of Bailiang really thinking? As the weaker side of the country, they are actually taking the initiative to go to war. They can't even have the advantage of fishing boats. Hey! Most people in countries are mocking Bailiang and Zhang Hao, but compared to netizens in Claw Frog country, they are already considered polite. Kill the Bailiang pig. All the men will be beheaded, and the women will XX first, and then use a steel pipe to poke YD under them. Blood debt and blood compensation. We must catch that damn king and make him kneel down to die. May we carry 100,000 tigers and wolves journey, wield our swords and raise our horses to destroy Qinjing. Under the promotion of the national fishing vessel machinery, the people of Claw Frog country were filled with righteous indignation, and their hatred towards Bailiang instantly reached its peak. Claw Frog country capital street. Thousands of people gathered together. They marched and demonstrated with slogans of justice, while also adding all the things related to Bailiang on the street to the list of haters. Bang! A small car produced in Bailiang was smashed to pieces by roaring crowds. In order to express patriotism, car owners with pure Claw Frog bloodline not only did not stop, but also cooperated very well. Good. Good smashing. He clapped his hands loudly and exclaimed, but inside he was spitting blood. My 2 years' salary. At the same time as the people are rallying to the call of the country, the war machine of Claw Frog is also operating rapidly. Front Command Headquarters. An old man in military uniform walked in surrounded by high-ranking officials. Commander-in-Chief. The officers around stood up and saluted. Sulaka nodded solemnly, walked to the main seat, sat down, and raised his hand, saying, "Let's start." The lighting in the conference room instantly dimmed. Subsequently, a huge 3D map was displayed on a large screen several meters away. A middle-aged officer stood up and pointed the infrared remote control in his hand towards the Bailiang Islands on the map. The Bailiang Islands are the territory of the Bailiang Kingdom. If we switch to the Blue Star world, this place is probably northwest of Indonesia and southeast of the Philippines. Everyone, said the middle-aged officer in a loud voice, according to reports from the front line, the Northern Liang Kingdom has concentrated its main navy in the southern part of the Northern Liang Islands, which happens to be opposite our second and third warship groups. Upon hearing this, some high-ranking officials in the Claw Frog Kingdom were feeling a chill in their hearts. It seems that Bailiang intends to engage in a frontal battle. Isn't this a self-destructive path? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. The Arrival of the Wolf-Fighting Battleship. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At the same time, in the state of Northern Liang. At this moment, Zhang Hao has left the Northern Fleet Base and arrived at Chennan Port, where the Southern Fleet Headquarters is located, by helicopter. For this itinerary arrangement, the officials under their command have all expressed dissuasion. Although the northern base may also face threats from the enemy, it is relatively safer due to its geographical location. And the opposite shore of Chennan Port is the territory of Claw Frog Country, which is a true front line with extremely high risk. However, according to the laws of the Northern Liang dynasty, the king had supreme power, so no one could stop him and could only obediently obey Zhang Hao's orders. Southern Fleet Base. Inside the command post, Zhang Hao carefully read a tablet. What is written on the screen is a comparison of the naval forces of the two countries. Claw Frog Nation Navy, current military strength. 45,000 personnel underwater power. 2 main conventional submarines and 6 semi-retired conventional submarines surface strength. 17 frigates, 16 light frigates, 4 missile boats, 16 large patrol boats, 11 mine warships, 26 amphibious warships, 1 command ship, 31 speedboats and auxiliary ships Marine Corps. 2 combat regiments, 1 special operations battalion, equipped with 80 light tanks, 20 armored reconnaissance vehicles, 10 infantry tanks, and several artillery pieces naval aviation fleet. 17 armed helicopters, 48 fixed-wing patrol and transport aircraft, and 37 other helicopters shore-based forces. 2 large naval bases and 23 small bases Northern Liang Navy current military strength. 17,000 personnel underwater power. 2 semi-retired conventional submarines surface strength. 2 frigates, 5 light frigates, 2 missile boats, 3 minesweepers, 5 patrol boats, 21 torpedo boats, 4 amphibious landing ships, and 12 fast boats and auxiliary boats Marine Corps. 1 combat regiment, equipped with 12 amphibious tanks and 21 large and small artillery pieces naval aviation fleet. 6 armed helicopters, 12 transport planes, and 21 other helicopters shore-based forces. 3 medium-sized naval bases and 6 small bases. It can be seen that the naval power of Bailiang is far inferior to its opponents. And this information may not be accurate either. In recent years, Claw Frog Country has been vigorously developing its navy, and there are certainly many pressure cases that have not been put on the table. Their true strength is definitely stronger than what is shown in the data. What's even more deadly is that the number of claw frogs far exceeds that of our own army. Once Bailiang loses its control over the sea and air, the country can basically be declared doomed. Is the difference so big? Zhang Hao couldn't help but frown tightly. The commander of the Southern Fleet, upon seeing this, leaned over and chuckled bitterly. As you have seen, there is indeed a big gap between us and the claw frog. However, they also have a disadvantage, which is that most warships are relatively old. Although the navy of Claw Frog Country is not small in scale, most of their ships are second-hand goods that have been phased out by powerful countries, and there are also many grandfathers among them. The navy of Bailiang was relatively younger. Zhang Hao put down the tablet and was about to say something. Suddenly, the voice of a white-haired lowly rang out in my mind. Ding! Novice task release. Win a battle task requirement. In the upcoming outpost, encounter, or battle, victory must be achieved. Task reward. 5,000 points, 1 chance for lucky draw. Zhang Hao raised his eyebrows and turned to look at the white-haired lowly, asking in his mind, lottery. Can that kind of incredible thing also be won? Lowly also turned her head away and replied with a brainwave, in theory, it is possible, but the probability is so low that it can be ignored. If you want to increase the probability, you need to upgrade the system. Can you still upgrade? How can you upgrade? Upgrade tasks will be issued during special periods, and you only need to complete them at that time. That's it. Zhang Hao nodded secretly and then asked, by the way, you said weapons can be dropped before. How do you operate it specifically? That Wolf-class destroyer should also come in handy. This warship is much more advanced than the battleships of Claw Frog and Baoyang, and even if placed in a naval power, it can still sit in the main position. Although there is only one, I believe it can definitely bring a lot of help to Baoyang. Lowly replied, you can open the relevant operation interface on me, or you can use brainwaves to tell me the specific placement location, and I will complete the operation on behalf of the host. Zhang Hao nodded and opened the map software on the tablet in his hand. After some swiping, he ordered, throw in the 11th marking area 20 nautical miles east of Chinnan port. Also, hang the flag of Baoyang and the flag of Baoyang Navy on the ship. This operation should not require points, right? He had not yet thought of how to explain the appearance of the warship, but anyway, at least he couldn't make the Northern Liang army think that this warship was an enemy. No need. Okay, then vote immediately. Obedience. Lowly's pupils flickered like a light. Host, it has been successfully deployed. The southern sea area of Chinnan port. On the calm sea surface, a dazzling aurora flashed past. The next second, a long sword over 150 meters long flashed out without warning. This warship has a slender body, and a faint white light emanates from its hull. At the front of it is a main gun turret, and behind the turret are 2 flapping missile launchers. At the stern of the ship, there is a white helicopter parked. The tall and powerful Wolf-fighting class destroyer was born. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Enemy Advance Fleet Attacks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Another day passed. The southern sea area of Baoyang is calm and sunny, with a gentle breeze that makes people feel comfortable and peaceful. However, everyone knows that this is just the tranquility before the storm. Soon, a terrifying and massive naval battle will erupt in this sea area. As the war between Baoyang and Claw Frog was about to break out, the citizens of both sides also engaged in a verbal altercation on the internet. Baoyang pig. Prepare to lead the neck to slaughter. Do Claw Frog monkeys dare to shout a few more words? Is it really pitiful, the last cry of the fallen slaves? Grass NM's Claw Frog monkey. Just a few days after ascending the throne, it became a lost country. This is the youngest king in history. Although the vast majority of verbal fights are just pointless confrontations, it can also be seen how serious the hostility between the two countries is. Of course, those who are fighting online are mostly people living in relatively safe areas. Most of the people in both countries are actually quite busy. They will either be transferred to the rear area under government arrangements. Either it is to crazily purchase daily necessities in various markets, preparing for the highly likely price surge in the future. A considerable number of people have been recruited by the government, either to the front line as conscripts or to enter factories for production work. This is a full-scale war involving all aspects of the country, not a simple matter of two countries sending out armies to fight each other. The people are also a part of the war. In this way, the national machines of Baoyang and Claw Frog began to operate rapidly, and a competition between national strength began. The prince's mansion of the northern Liang kingdom. The secretary took out a tablet and reported, "King, people from major cities in the south are moving to the central island. Due to the small population and concentrated settlements in the southern archipelago, the transfer work is expected to be completed within 3 days." Got it. Zhang Hao nodded. How is the domestic fishing vessel industry? The secretary helped her glasses and said, "The vast majority of the people in China support your decision. As for those very few opponents, the relevant departments have made appropriate arrangements." Well, good. Zhang Hao was satisfied with this. According to spies, although the majority of the people in Claw Frog country support a war, there are also many anti-war activists present. The sources of opponents are mixed. Some believe that fighting is not in line with national interests, some are anti-war activists with pacifist ideas, and some are simply foolish friends who add disgust to the government. These people may not affect the direction of the war, but they can also cause a lot of unnecessary trouble for the Claw Frog government. In contrast, the opinions of the people in Baoyang were much more unified, and almost all of them stood on Zhang Hao's side. There is a reason why Baoyang was able to implement dictatorship for so many years. At this moment, an official knocked on the door and walked in. "King." He looked serious. The front is officially at war. The southern sea area of Baoyang. 3 warships with the flag of Claw Frog are sailing at high speed through the waves. They are the advance troops dispatched by the Claw Frog Navy, responsible for occupying control of the 11th Sea Area and laying a foothold for the subsequent large forces. The advance fleet consists of 2 frigates and 1 light frigate. On the left is an Yani-class battleship with a displacement of 2,850 tons. Its predecessor was the Vansbeck-class battleship of the European windmills, which had been in service for half a century and was a serious old battleship. The one on the right is a Shimodakan-class battleship with a displacement of 2,000 tons. It is a second-hand missile frigate from Yingjiang, with a low cost and also in service for over 50 years. These 2 old guys, even if placed in relatively backward Southeast Asian countries, are definitely not considered powerful warships. However, the real threat to the advance fleet lies in the Sigma-class light frigate in the middle. This warship has advanced performance and can be configured differently according to different needs. It can serve as both a defensive regional air defense ship and a fast and rapid attack ship. There are only 4 ships of this level in the entire Claw Frog country, each one being the treasure of treasures and the elite of the elite. And the ship that appeared in front of us was an offensive warship with an aggressive configuration and fierce firepower. The captain of this ship is a star-level general of Claw Frog country, Colonel Tataka. Spread out the formation, pay attention to maintaining distance. On the bridge, on Tataka, a confident smile hung on the calibration, giving orders to the other 2 captains. He comes from a military family and is also a genius officer who claims to have a 50-year talent. He has obtained various medals and certificates with ease. But these honors are not much to him. As a proud soldier of the Claw Frog Kingdom, Tataka has always been extremely eager to expand his homeland and become a highly regarded war hero. Now, the opportunity to make achievements has finally arrived. Although the opponent is only the weak Baoyang, this is ultimately a significant national battle. As long as he can achieve victory in the upcoming battles, he can shed the halo of being a college scholar and become a true famous general with practical combat achievements. At this moment, the bridge uploaded a report from the War Situation Center. Report to the captain. Found enemy warships. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Crushing enemy ships and falling Claw Frog generals. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Prepare for battle. First level combat deployment. Katakaden ordered solemnly, then turned his gaze to the military intelligence report on the screen. According to feedback from the reconnaissance aircraft ahead, 2 enemy ships appeared in the nearby waters. The models of both warships are the Anshan-class frigates, which were second-hand goods purchased by Bailiang from Baixiong country. Their performance is slightly better than their 2 friendly ships. However, in front of the Sigma-class light frigate he was sitting on, the opponent only had the chance to be crushed. Yes. First level combat deployment. First level combat deployment. The announcer of the Situation Center immediately issued an order to the entire fleet. After hearing the order, the officers and soldiers of the Claw Frog Advance Fleet quickly entered their respective combat positions. They all had a stern expression, and at the same time, there was a murderous aura in their eyes. This battle is not only for national interests, but also for the dignity of the Claw Frog Navy. The deep-seated blood feud between the sinking of the Siege and Fatashi must be avenged. At this moment, Tataka's stern military order sounded. Open the fleet information sharing channel. The radar systems of the other 2 ships are weak, and it is estimated that the target has not been detected yet. In order for the 3 ships to work together, information sharing is necessary. A few seconds later, the operator reported, "Captain. The information has been transmitted to the friendly ship. The friendly ship has entered level 1 combat deployment." Tataka nodded and continued loudly, 3 ships deployed. Missile preparation. Our ship is locked on target 1, and the other 2 ships are locked on target 2. Yes. Missile preparation. Launch device activated. The fire control system is on, locking the target. Target locked, missile ready. The technical staff of the Situation Center immediately responded and set the attack procedure with superb efficiency in the first place. Launch. Tataka roared. Shoo shoo. The row of missiles on 3 warships shot out one after another, roaring and flying towards the sky. Tataka looked steadily and confidently at the big screen, but there was a hint of strange emotions in his heart. Although the Claw Frog Kingdom is the hegemon of the Southern Ocean, its naval warfare methods are still too backward and cannot be compared to those real military powers. They rely on a complete mature system to operate as a first-class power, with various means such as military satellites, electronic interference, and air power available, rather than simply ship-to-ship and gun-to-gun. However, after ruling the Northern Yang dynasty, Claw Frog's national strength can rise to another level. If development goes smoothly, Claw Frog's navy may be able to master true modern naval warfare technology within 10 years. Tataka then issued another order. Notify all ships and prepare the defense work in advance for the guard turrets. Although the radar system of the Bailiang warship may not be as good as its own, it cannot be ruled out that the other party may have discovered it. As an excellent academy officer, caution and meticulousness have always been synonymous with him. Sure enough, after a while, the Situation Center sent an urgent report. Captain. Detected enemy missiles. Interception system activated. Fire. Tataka commanded without hesitation. In an instant, the guard machine guns on the side of the ship rose high. Missile approaching. Start intercepting. As the sound of Zla's mechanism was activated, the machine gun suddenly began to spew flames into the sky. Da-da-da-da. Next, clusters of exploding fireworks appeared on the distant sky. A few seconds later, a dull, bump sound came over. Report to the captain. All missiles have been successfully intercepted, and our army has not suffered any casualties. Got it. Tataka nodded solemnly. How are the enemy casualties? Forward message. 2 enemy ships have suffered varying degrees of damage, one of which is suspected to have been hit by a gunpowder magazine and has lost its combat effectiveness. Very good. Tataka's furrowed brow finally relaxed. In just one round of competition, the Northern Liang side suffered a heavy blow, while their own side suffered no losses. It's obvious that we must have won this battle. The other crew members couldn't help but show a relaxed and freehand expression. It's too simple. I thought the Northern Liang Navy had 2 more brushes, but it turned out to be so incompetent. Don't relax. Captain Tataka remained alert, prepare for the second round of attack. Yes. The second round strike is accurate. The reporter of the missile team had not finished speaking when suddenly the operator of the radar team exclaimed in surprise. Captain. The radar has captured another enemy ship. The model is unknown. What? Tataka quickly looked at the screen and couldn't help but freeze. I saw a large red dot flickering on the screen. The flicker indicates that the other party has advanced anti-radar devices and strong stealth capabilities. Captain, the enemy ship has entered the red line area. There was a hint of panic in the voices of the radar crew members. Entering the red line means that if the other party launches an attack at this time, it is likely that our side will not have time to respond. The next second, a catastrophic situation has really happened. Captain. Missiles are coming. Missiles are coming. The interception system immediately transfers the target. Tataka roared, with a slight sweat oozing from his forehead. Yes. The interception program has started. The operator of the interception team paused for a moment. He looked ugly and realized that the success rate of interception calculated by the computer was only a pitiful 5%. Tataka clearly saw the result on the screen and couldn't help but stand up with a pale face, turning his head to look outside the porthole. In the line of sight, missiles in their final stages are spraying fiercely towards us. The next moment. Boom. The red flames shattered the portholes and mercilessly engulfed Tataka and the soldiers. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Victory in the First Battle, Boosting Military Morale. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. On this side of the Northern Liang Advance Fleet. Just now, the captain of the Qinyuan received a surprising and joyful news. The enemy's most threatening Sigma-class light frigate was successfully destroyed. Okay. The captain couldn't help but clench his fist, his heart filled with excitement. Previously, when he was bombed by claw frog missiles, he sadly thought that he was almost doomed, and the first battle of Bailiang would also end in defeat. Unexpectedly, there has been a dramatic reversal of the plot now. Colonel Chen. The channel heard the inquiry of the captain of the Chening ship, did something happen earlier? In the recent bombardment, the Chening suffered heavy damage due to an explosion in the gunpowder depot, resulting in the loss of radar and power systems. Therefore, the captain of the Chening can only rely on internal channels for communication. Yes, the flagship of Claw Frog has been sunk. What? Did that warship do it? That warship refers to Zhang Hao's Dolong-class destroyer. The captains of Bailiang were quite puzzled by the inexplicable appearance of this friendly ship. The upper echelons of the navy did not provide any explanation for this, as even they themselves looked bewildered. According to the king's words, this warship was a secret private military asset secretly purchased by the old king during his lifetime, and does not belong to the regular military organization of the Northern Liang. However, I always feel that this argument doesn't seem very convincing. However, given the special position of the Zhang family in the Northern Liang dynasty, the military leaders could not inquire too much and could only acquiesce to the existence of this warship. The captain of the Qinyuan replied, it was his handwriting. I don't know who commanded that warship, but he made such a great contribution as soon as he arrived. On the other side, the Claw Frog advance army. At this moment, the captain of the Tiswawei turned pale. He couldn't believe that the powerful Sigma-class warship would sink into the sea in an instant. He looked at the radar screen in horror again. The culprit who killed Colonel Tataka must still be in this sea area, but the radar of the USS Zodiac was unable to capture its presence. A sea ghost that can take a person's life at any time is drifting around, and this feeling is really creepy. Buzz. Buzz. Suddenly, a piercing alarm sounded. Captain. Missiles are coming. The captain was startled and quickly shouted, "Guard guns immediately defend." Interception system activated. Machine gun activated. 3 missiles have been successfully intercepted, and the remaining targets cannot be intercepted. Evasion program activated. Captain, we can't escape. How could this antique ship withstand an attack that even advanced Sigma-class warships cannot defend against? The next moment. Boom. Brilliant fire clouds rose on the sea surface. The second Claw Frog battleship sank in the sea. On the third Claw Frog battleship. Captain. The Zwawei sank. The rear command has ordered us to withdraw from the battlefield immediately. Captain Vivette, upon encountering Amnesty, said, "I understand. Return immediately." After witnessing 2 friendly ships being sunk, he and his crew were panicked to the extreme and no longer had the same fierce momentum as before departure. Faced with an invisible and intangible terrifying opponent, they couldn't muster the courage to continue fighting and only wanted to quickly leave this dangerous sea area. "Hurry up and turn around," Vivi shouted anxiously. "However, can these guys escape? Missiles are coming. Missiles are coming." Accompanied by the panicked calls of the crew, the red alarm inside the ship immediately sounded. Viviti's face was instantly filled with despair. "It's over." Then, with a loud bang, a pillar of dust with a reddish tint rose again on the blue sea surface. At this point, the 3 warships of the advance fleet of Claw Frog Kingdom were collectively buried in the sea, and almost all officers and soldiers on board were killed in action. Bailiang State, Chang'an Command Headquarters. "We won. We won." Continuous cheers echoed from the base. The soldiers embraced excitedly and celebrated victory together. The senior officials were also in a good mood, and their previously stiff faces finally eased a lot. "King," said the commander of the Southern Fleet with joy, "our army has won its first battle. The enemy's advance team has been completely destroyed." Although the scale of this battle was not significant, and our side also scrapped a warship, the results of the battle were undoubtedly very brilliant. More importantly, achieving victory in the first battle can significantly boost the confidence of the residents of Bailiang. Zhang Hao nodded lightly and said, "I understand. Immediately activate the military propaganda department and spread the news of victory to all departments of the army." In addition, the secretary immediately informed the National Propaganda Department and major domestic media of the good news, asking them to report and promote it immediately. "Yes." The commander and secretary solemnly agreed and exchanged glances, both noticing a sense of surprise in each other's eyes. I thought the little king would at least be delighted when he heard the news of the victory on the front line, even if he wasn't excited and shouted loudly. But I didn't expect this young man, who was only 18 years old, to react unexpectedly calmly, as if all of this was taken for granted. The executives around also noticed this. In the eyes of everyone, Zhang Hao's image not only changed greatly, but also began to become unfathomable. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.